I think it would take a few rounds.
Really?
But yeah. First of all, Jake is a lot bigger. Jake's a lot bigger.
But what weight would they fight
Well,
at?
I don't think Jake is getting anywhere lower than 205 pounds. It would be crazy. I like a little freak show every now and then. As far as like, would you like to see?
I like
Jake
a
Paul,
lot of freak show.
Like if Jake Paul wants to fight for the title, I would like to see him beat top contenders in the light heavyweight division or whatever division he chooses to compete at, and then eventually fight for a title. Yeah,
but are the fights even real? Like the Tyson fight? Like I saw video breakdowns of Tyson.
The conversation surrounding the impending clash between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua has shifted from dismissive laughter to a complex, multi-layered debate that touches on the very integrity of professional boxing, the evolution of sports entertainment, and the raw physics of heavyweight combat. It begins, as most modern boxing narratives do, with a visual revelation that rippled across social media platforms and caught the attention of the sport's most influential voices. Joe Rogan, a commentator known for his unfiltered analysis of combat sports.
Again, if mentally he's not like, all right, I got a job to do, I'm representing boxing, a lot of American fans don't know me, this will be the most watched thing on fucking Netflix ever for sports-wise, so I got to make a good, showing. Hopefully he has that approach. I assume he does, because he did with Francis. He was like, nah, bitch, the train stops here.
Yeah,
And Tyson Fury's a little more of a character. Hey, wow, what are you gonna do? Let's move around a little bit.
I remember when he caught Klitschko with that uppercut, Anthony Joshua.
And he got caught. He got set down.
Klitschko, yes. And Klitschko is a big man. You're just dealing with literally a different ecosystem, man.
But that's what makes it, that's why it's a brilliant move by Jake. Because his fan base is like, oh my God, Jake, it's David versus Goliath, literally. It's this YouTuber Disney kid. Look how far he's come. He's actually going to do it. What if he wins? So there's that demo of his. And then there's the rest of the world who go, and they're so off on this, but they go, we got to get Jake Paul out of boxing. I can't wait to see his head get knocked off by Anthony Joshua. And that's the majority, right? So those two worlds mix, and you get the most watched boxing match on Netflix ever. More so than Mike Tyson at fucking 77 in a fake sparring match. This, So if you're Jake, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's go through it. Let's say Jake gets knocked out 1 minute.
Found himself genuinely taken aback by the physical transformation of the younger Paul brother. The footage circulating online did not show a celebrity dabbler looking for a quick paycheck. It depicted a fighter who has sculpted his body with a terrifying degree of seriousness. Rogan noted the density, the sharpness, and the sheer mass Jake has packed on, estimating that he would not be entering the ring anywhere south of 205 pounds. This is a crucial metric because it signals that Jake is not merely relying on speed or evasion. He is preparing to absorb the kind of heavy artillery that only a true heavyweight can deliver. The surprise in Rogan's voice reflects a broader sentiment in the combat sports community.
Training with that camp. And I mean, if you are Jake Paul, I mean, shit just got even more real. So AJ's taking it that serious. He's now training with the Usyk camp, not just for your fight, but for fights going forward. This isn't AJ saying, okay, you know what, I'm just going to train myself. Just get in shape and maybe just train with my amateur coach. This is AJ saying, no, we're going to train with Usyk's team. And I'm basically meaning, or I'm saying, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. You want me to get down to 245 pounds? No problem. We've done that before, and that was one of my best performances before. Obviously, I'm talking about AJ versus Usyk too. So, yeah, I still can't believe it's happening, but it is happening. It will do incredible numbers. I've said that I think it will do numbers as big as Canelo Crawford. Some people have laughed at that. Don't laugh, honestly, because Canelo Crawford over here, it would have been a small, minute percentage of people that would have watched it on Netflix over here. AJ fighting over here, everyone's watching it. Everyone's watching it. Everyone's watching it in Africa because that's the impact AJ has. And obviously everyone's going to be watching it in America because of Jake Paul. And then because of how that photo looked. Again, David versus Goliath. People are now way more intrigued than they were for Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. So, yeah, I'm intrigued as to how it looks in the first 20 seconds. And then I'll be able to just make my mind up as to how long this goes, but I will still stand firm and say AJ should, not will, should get rid of Jake Paul in 1 round. Should. And if he doesn't, then I don't know what.
The realization that the Disney kid has evolved into a physical specimen capable of commanding attention, if not yet respect, from the elite echelon of the sport. Rogan points out that while the common consensus suggests this fight shouldn't last more than 2 rounds, the visual evidence of Jake's preparation introduces a sliver of doubt, a what-if scenario that fuels the spectacle. This sentiment is echoed and expanded upon by former world champion Andre Berto, who peels back the layers of the matchup to reveal a psychological dimension that raw statistics often miss. Berto acknowledges the overwhelming public expectation for a dominant Anthony Joshua knockout, a violent restoration of the natural order where an Olympic gold medalist dismantles a YouTuber. However, Berto cautions against viewing this as a simple equation. He highlights Joshua's recent inconsistencies, the fluctuations in his performance that have left fans and analysts questioning his mental fortitude in high-pressure situations. If the version of Joshua that appears is hesitant or gun-shy, the dynamic changes.
They had the Pacquiao and Floyd fight. We all go up there. You know what I mean? We check the fight out. You know, good situation. And then just me and my lady, we walking through the casino. What's his name? Rodney Jerkins.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know Rodney Jerkins, big music producer. Yeah. Y'all can talk to him and ask him. Yeah. Rodney Jerkins.
Berto emphasizes that Jake is surrounded by a formidable team of experienced trainers who are engineering a game plan specifically designed to exploit Joshua's psychological vulnerabilities while maximizing Jake's youth and conditioning. The narrative is no longer just about skill gaps. It is about momentum. Jake is on an upward trajectory, fueled by a delusional but potent self-belief, while Joshua is fighting to maintain his relevance and legacy. This clash of trajectories creates a volatile environment where the outcome, while statistically skewed toward Joshua, is not the guaranteed formality many assume it to be. The discourse takes a fascinating turn when examining the economics of the training camps, specifically the high-caliber sparring partners Jake has employed. Analysts have scrutinized the decision of legitimate heavyweight contenders to step into the ring with Jake during his preparation. Critics question the logic of a professional fighter helping a YouTuber prepare, but the answer, as is often the case in prize fighting, lies in the financials. The discussion reveals a pragmatic underworld of boxing where sparring is a job, and Jake Paul is a generous employer. For fighters like Lawrence Oakley or Frank Sanchez, the opportunity to spar with Jake is not about sharpening their own skills for a title run. It is a calculated financial decision. The paydays offered for these sessions likely dwarf the stipends provided in traditional boxing camps. This creates a bizarre ecosystem where the established hierarchy of the sport is subverted by capital. The amateur is renting the experience of the professionals to fast-track his own development. While some purists argue that sparring a novice, regardless of his fame, does nothing to help a professional prepare for their own bouts, others recognize that the easy money allows these fighters to fund their careers in a sport that is notoriously stingy with its lower-tier paychecks. It is a mutually beneficial arrangement that unintentionally validates Jake's presence in the sport. He is not just a tourist. He is a stimulus package for the heavyweights he employs. However, the pressure resting on Anthony Joshua's shoulders extends far beyond his bank account. Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen inject a sense of urgency into the conversation, framing the fight as a battle for the reputation of boxing itself. They argue that Joshua is walking into the ring as the standard-bearer for the sweet science. This bout will be broadcast on Netflix, a platform with a global reach that dwarfs traditional pay-per-view audiences. For millions of casual viewers, this may be the only boxing match they watch all year, and their perception of the sport's legitimacy will hinge on Joshua's performance. If he struggles, if he looks clumsy, or worse, if he loses, it sends a catastrophic message about the value of Olympic pedigree versus manufactured celebrity. The analysts urge Joshua to approach this with a cold, destructive mindset. There is no room for the nice guy persona or the tentative jab and move strategy that has characterized some of his recent outings. He must treat Jake Paul not as a fellow athlete, but as an existential threat to his legacy. The comparison is made to Joshua's fight against Francis Ngannou, where he understood the assignment perfectly and delivered a crushing knockout that reaffirmed the dominance of a pure boxer over an MMA crossover star. The fear, however, is that Joshua might underestimate the moment or get caught up in the exhibition atmosphere, similar to how Tyson Fury initially trifled with Ngannou. The consensus is clear. Joshua cannot afford to play with his food. Ada Oladipo brings a crucial counterpoint to the table by focusing on the seriousness of Joshua's own preparation. Contrary to the belief that AJ might sleepwalk through this camp, reports indicate he is training with the intensity of a man preparing for a title unification bout. The revelation that Joshua is utilizing the Usyk camp, the very team that dismantled him twice, demonstrates a humility and a terrifying level of commitment. He is not relying on his past accolades. He is reinventing his rhythm and sharpening his tools with the best tactical minds in the business. Oladipo suggests that this level of preparation from Joshua is actually a nightmare scenario for Jake. If Joshua were treating this as a cash grab exhibition, Jake might have a puncher's chance. But an Anthony Joshua who is disciplined, lean, and strategically sound is a force of nature that few heavyweights, let alone a crossover boxer, can withstand. Oladipo also highlights the global magnitude of the event, noting that Joshua's influence in Africa combined with Jake's American dominance creates a viewership demographic that is unprecedented. It is a collision of worlds, the traditional boxing loyalists and the new age digital fanbase, converging to witness a spectacle that defies logic but commands attention. Despite the acknowledgement of Jake's improvements, the technical analysis provided by Luke Thomas serves as a sobering reality check. Thomas strips away the marketing veneer to look at the raw mechanics of the matchup. He reminds the audience that Anthony Joshua is not just a big guy. He is a gigantic, 6'6" heavyweight who has spent his life mastering the nuances of distance and timing. Jake Paul, for all his dedication, is naturally a cruiserweight who has bulked up. The size disparity is reminiscent of the cinematic mismatch between Rocky Balboa and Ivan Drago, a comparison that highlights the absurdity of the visual. Thomas points out the danger of the one-punch theory, the idea that Jake only needs to land one lucky shot to win. While true in a philosophical sense, the reality is that landing a clean shot on a defensive master like Joshua is a puzzle that world-class fighters have failed to solve. Furthermore, Joshua is coming off a devastating knockout loss to Daniel Dubois. While some might see this as a vulnerability, it also means Joshua is acutely aware of the consequences of getting hit. He will likely be sharper and more defensive than ever. Thomas expresses genuine concern for Jake's health, questioning the sanctioning of a bout with such a massive disparity in size and experience. It raises the question of whether Netflix or the promoters are pushing for a spectacle at the expense of safety, leveraging the anything-can-happen allure of heavyweight boxing to sell a mismatch that, on paper, should not be sanctioned.